Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Stamp Talk. Today, I'm going to talk about watermark detection. Let me share my screen. I'm going to use a set of beautiful stamps issued by Hong Kong between 1973 to 1978, the so-called Machin heads issued as an example. The Machin definitive was issued on 12th of June 1973. It was printed by Harrison's on glazed paper in the UK. There are 9 low values in small format: the 10 cents, the 15 cents, the 20 cents, the 25 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents, 65 cents, and the dollar. And 5 high values in large format, basically the same design. And they are the $1.30, $2, $5, $10, and the $20. The first printing was on multiple crown block CA watermark paper with a PVA gum. This is the kind of yellowish patchy gum you can see on the back of the stamp. There are 3 sorts of watermarks. The upright watermark on 10 cents, 20 cents, 25 cents, 50 cents, 65 cents, and $1. And sideways watermarks to the right, as seen from the back, on the 15 cents and 30 cents. And the sideways watermarks to the left on 40 cents and the large format dollar high values. As you can see, because of the difference in the watermarks of the stamps, it is paramount to be able to see the watermarks, to detect the watermarks using some kind of methods. Because there are errors like sideways inverted watermarks, which is known on the 15 cents, 30 cents, and $20, and also inverted watermark known on the 20 cents. Reprint. The stamps were reprinted in 1974, 75, and 77 with block CA watermark, but with a different gum, which is called the PVA dextrin gum, which is a slightly greenish gum. You can see on the back of the stamp. And there are more reprints in 1975 to 1978 with the different watermark. And this time is so-called a spiral CA watermark and with the PVAD gum. The new values, 60 cents, 70 cents, and 80 cents were issued in May, June of 1977. And then in 1980, the paper was changed into a matte surface or uncoated paper on these values here. Now you can see an example of the multiple crown CA diagonal watermark, which is a little bit like that. The CA is a little bit fatter, whereas the so-called multiple crown block CA watermark, the CA here, the CA stands for crown agents, it's taller and narrow. So, watermark detection methods. Well, the basic simple method to see a watermark on a stamp is to hold the stamp up to a light source, whether you directly or at an angle. This works for stamps with printed on very thin paper, and mainly the older stamps, you can actually see the watermark without any aids. And then also, if the stamps are printed on thinner paper, you can actually place it on a black background, which you can actually see the watermark showing out quite clearly. And there is also the age-old method of placing the stamp on a black plastic tray with a drop of benzene or lighter fluid so that the stamp, the watermark can show through. Now, why benzene or lighter fluid? Because these kind of organic solvents evaporates very quickly without leaving any mark. But beware, benzene is carcinogenic and a lighter and also highly flammable, and so is lighter fluid. So please beware of that, and it can be very dangerous if you have some kind of candlelight or you are smoking or something. The stamp will be burnt. The modern method of detecting watermark is, of course, the watermark detector with or without light source. So about, I think, 40 years ago, there's the Molly-Bright roller detector or the Insta detector. One you can actually use for detecting loose stamps, and the other one actually you can actually detect stamps stuck on cover of postcard. It uses the fractional difference between watermark areas of the stamp and the remaining areas to show relief when the ink in the sachet is squeezed between the stamp. The problem with this is it has stopped production. So you can buy only second-hand detectors in the market nowadays. But it is actually a quite useful device. It works without electricity and it's very light. You can actually carry it around and it works. So we come to, with the advent of scanners and computers, we can try our hands on the digital scanner, which there are expensive versions, there are cheap versions, but what you can do is to put the stamp on a black background for scanning, with the back on the reverse side. So you scan at 600 dpi or above, and then you have to use an image editing software to process the scanned image, i.e. all sorts like Photoshop or various Pixelian or something like that. And then by fiddling with the filters, the brightness control, the contrast setting, and you can actually show the different watermarks, sometimes clearly, sometimes just about. For example, here, two examples I'm shown here. This is the large format high value Machin. You can actually see the smaller crown and the fatter CA, which is actually the multiple crown CA that they call diagonal or spiral watermark. And this is a small size definitive, and you can vaguely see the thinner, taller CA here with the larger crown of the so-called multiple crown block CA. It can be done, but it takes a little time and the fiddling with the controls, a little fiddling with the different filters, and it's depending on the color of the stamp, because as you know, that with the 1973 definitives, it's deeply, the whole stamp is deeply colored, and it's quite difficult to see using the eye with the light source. So digital scanner, you can try hands on. So we go up market, and we have the Spectrum, the Stanley Gibbons Spectrum, or the Lighthouse Sherlock, and actually they are the same, but with a different label. And basically, it's an optical electrical watermark finder, and you can see there is a glass block here, which you can place the stamp, or maybe even a block of 4, and you insert this into the machine, and the machine has 2 knobs for the light control and also the color filter, and there are 4 sorts. The white, which is a basic white light, the green, the blue, and the red. And depending on the color of the stamp, you can use different filters to show up the watermark. This is quite effective, but the cost, of course. I mean, a machine like that would cost you something like £150. And then, of course, the best value in the market is the safe signal scope, which is another electrical optical device. The device works without chemicals and thus without risk of damaging the stamp. Of course, I talked about using a lighter fluid and the benzene, but with some stamps, because of the organic solvent, you can actually dissolve some of the ink. So you actually ruin your stamp by doing that. And detect not only watermarks, but also repairs, degrees of preservation, quality defects, and paper irregularities. It works with 3 dimmable LED, so it's actually it's cool. I mean, it's LEDs. It's a cool light, cold light. By moving the control knobs up and down, as you can see on the side here, you can see there's a control knob here. And then the stamp can be examined with 8 different light colors. These are the light filters, which filters up the effect. We cancel out the effect of the colored surface. So these are basically the different ways of detecting watermarks, and it really depends on how much you want to pay. And of course, the cheapest method, of course, is just to hold the stamp to the light, but this can be difficult. And I wouldn't recommend nowadays the lighter fluid, or certainly you probably can't find benzene available anywhere, probably except in the laboratories. And then the molybdenite, it's no longer being produced, but you can find second-hand one. And our problem is the sachet, the fluids in the sachet tend to dry up quickly. So without the fluid inside the plastic sachet, it is not going to work. So if you want to buy a second-hand one, make sure that you find one that still has the liquid inside, not dried up. You can certainly find them maybe in the stamp shops, or probably on the internet too. So there you go. Different methods of detecting watermark, and just depends how much you want to pay. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the talk, and I'll certainly will see you again. Bye-bye.